Some of the things we saw this year include the disintermediation of the media, meaning brands and especially politicians going direct to the public, ignoring the media, and the media having less and less impact. And we saw that in the result of Brexit, we saw that in the result of the US presidential election. Linked to that is the phenomenon of fake news, the idea of news reports and reports purporting to be fact to being absolute fantasy and fiction. And that, I think, is linked to the previous point. Another trend that we saw is what you could call corporate nationalism, where the idea of disputes between companies and about companies taking on a national significance. So the tax dispute with Apple and some of the corporate disputes in Europe with Google have taken on a US versus European Union perspective. Another trend that we've seen is this resistance to the algorithm, especially with younger consumers. So people are becoming wise to the idea of personalized content being calculated and shipped to them, and there's a lot of resistance. There's resistance in terms of filters and blockers, but also a degree of cynicism around automated content, which we've seen this year. And finally, the conflict between inherent within the advertising model, the idea of agencies who are counseling clients to buy space and also taking commission on that space. And that's being revealed this year, and there's a lot of investigations happening everywhere from the US to Japan about that conflict. So looking at those 5 points for next year, in terms of the disintermediation and fake news, I think that journalism will be revived. I think that people see a role of third parties to validate news, not necessarily to give opinion, but to verify the existence of fact. And so this will perhaps be good news for journalists. We're looking at the impact of corporate nationalism. I think that's something that anyone who works for an international brand is going to have to be aware of, especially overseas. I don't think corporate nationalism is going away. I think that it's going to become more acute in the next year. We also spoke about the algorithm. I think that the level of cynicism and the level of distrust about pushed content will go up, and I think that it's also linked to the advertising model. I think that trust and credibility is going to have to be earned in every sense.